Hello, everybody. It is my first founder chat for 2025. And I'm extremely excited to have Miki from oomé join me this morning for our first founder chat. So this will be a one of many for 2025. And let's get started. And if you've already tried any of oomé's products, let me know which one's your favorite. Mine is the Greek, but they are all very, very yummy. And we're going to get to learn more and more about how they're made and the whole process behind it. So a few more minutes for her to jump on. Oh, it's freezing cold in Ontario. I'd like to say it's cold here too, but it's not the same as Ontario weather right now. It's quite, it's sunny out there if you can see. We have sun. Oh, the maple soy. Yeah, the maple soy is very yummy. Okay, she has joined. Let's view the request. There we go. Yay!
Yay! It's my first time doing this.
That's very exciting.
First hurdle accomplished. I got onto the IG live.
And every time it always feels like Instagram is like working against us. It's like now they've changed the setting. And you're just like, okay, I'm learning.
It's
But here we
like
are.
a metaphor for running a business. You're just like always learning and learning.
It's true. It's like I'm not even gonna pretend like I know what's happening. I'm gonna keep doing it and move forward.
100%.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me on my very first founder chat for 2025. I am so excited to have you. It is, of course, you're in BC as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a
Hmm.
beautiful day outside for us. I know that some of the
Gorgeous.
Ontario people watching have said it's like minus 29 on their
Oh my
side of the
gosh.
country.
Too cold.
Yeah. Nope. I will
I mean, it's
take our
cold
BC
enough over
weather.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, it is for us it's cold. But
Yeah.
not for anybody else. But
Totally.
I
Yes.
wanted to introduce you to everybody as well. So it's Miki, the founder of oomé. I'm very excited to have you here. So we kind of go over the same kind of set of questions for each of our founder chats, kind of to see everyone's theme and their answers. It's all actually very similar, I would have to say, and all of our journeys. So it's very exciting to have new perspectives and different fields. And I think you are our second food company
Awesome.
to be joined. So I'm very excited about that. And I was very lucky to have met you at CHFA East and try your great products. So
Thank you.
to jump it off, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and the company?
Sure. So my name's Miki Talebi, and I'm the founder and CEO of oomé. It really, I think, as many CPG businesses, this is something that I stumbled into. There was never a plan. I did not wake up thinking like, I want to run a smoked tofu company. Um, I have a background in, like all the way through to PhD in education. I majored in psychology. I did a dissertation on looking at like stigma and mental health and all of those pieces. And when COVID hit, I was already on maternity leave and was not quite feeling satisfied with my career path, working in public policy and in a nonprofit, and was really just exploring other opportunities. And during that time, unrelated to the pandemic, but just unfortunate coincidence, my father actually got in this really awful accident, landed in the hospital, and that really was the beginning of a journey of starting this whole career path. My sister and I would get together and we would be like, what are you going to cook for the kids tonight? And then we would go and spend the evening with my mom at the hospital. And smoked tofu was just this really easy protein, easy to feed the kids, already flavored, already cooked. The kids liked it. And it was not available for one reason or another during the pandemic. And my father loved using his smoker. He would create these amazing meals that brought the family together. And so I had his old smoker, and I just very facetiously told my sister, like, well, how hard can it be? What if I just made smoked tofu for the kids? Did not even do anything about that. It was truly a sarcastic comment. But after 4 years of four months of ups and downs, he ended up passing away. And it really just felt like this constellation of signs. I was already seeking a different career path. I had his smoker. I wanted to do something that would be fulfilling, that would be a bit of a risk, um, that would model to my kids, like, if you're not happy with the status quo, to do something about it and to honor my father, and do something that felt like you were contributing to the planet and sustainability efforts and all of those pieces. So that is how, and that is how it all started.
It's an amazing story and extremely touching. And to know more about the story, it really brings all the pieces together of your company. I know I watched one of your videos about what you use to smoke it with and where
Totally.
you get the wood from. And like the whole story from start to finish is just amazing. And on top of that, I'm assuming we actually get to call you doctor, do we not, with this PhD?
This is
I
the imposter syndrome that comes in. I mean,
was
I
like, where's the
guess
doctor in your name? I'm like,
I
come
don't
on, this is what we should be calling you.
even. Thanks, Caitlin.
Because you know what,
I
when
know.
we you hit that, that's a huge achievement. Having a
Thank you.
PhD, getting like that is amazing, all in its own. Like separate from the company, that's an amazing achievement, and I think that you should be putting that out there. Like
Thank you.
you did that. That is you, and that's amazing all on its own. Like I was at a SFU business event last night for it's a women in business. They have a little group that they do. It's amazing group. And it was interesting listening to their what they want to do and where they want to go and what kind of education they want. And then I said to, I was like, my background's not business. I said I did this and this and this, and I ended up in business.
Yeah.
And that's just how it happened. And the same with you, you did the same thing. You did your education, you did everything, followed all the steps and all the things, and then you're like, actually, I want to come over here. A lot
Yeah.
of it is transferable. Like the things you learn in school, the things you learn through work, transfer more than you think.
You're so
But
right, Caitlin. Like now, so the next piece that I'm really trying to flex my skills and really develop is raising.
yeah,
And at the end of the slide deck, it says my contact information, Miki Talebi, comma PhD, and it has come up a few times, like that's quite the pivot, and it is quite the pivot, but there are actually these transferable skills when you're
mhm,
doing a PhD. You're taking this really vague concept, this hypothesis, and you have to bring it into
yeah,
reality. You have to do the studies and you have to analyze the data and you have to turn it into information in the end, and you have this product in front of you. It's the same with running CPG. You
yeah,
have this idea, and we can all have these amazing ideas, but until you execute on it, like it's just an idea.
it's true.
And so being able to like take this vague concept and put it into something more concrete, those are transferable skills in and of itself.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah.
interesting.
And it like
Hmm.
when you talked about education, I did an education program as well. Um, my second degree is in education. And I remember the group that we went through the whole process and who ended up actually in business and who ended up teaching. And when I was talking to the people moving into business, they're like, the degree is so transferable because we know how to deal with people. We know how to like set the stage. We know how to communicate. And so these degrees, you can do a degree in XYZ, and it is actually usable in many fields once you've graduated. So, the initials mean something. Whether or not they match exactly what you're doing today, they're huge. They're a huge benefit.
Thank you. Yeah, no, like the problem solving, the troubleshooting, the determination that it takes, and like the motivation
Yeah.
when you're doing something like that, you're the only one that's driving your progress. And it's kind of the same in CPG, like until it turns into this bigger engine that's sort of, you've got people that help you move it along. It really is up to you, how you want to push it
It's
forward. So
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I do ask similar questions to every single founder.
please.
We kind of already talked about the how, the why of the company. But when you're developing new products or when you develop the last product, is there like a process or how do you think of new flavors and new ideas?
For sure. I mean, the first three flavors really all came out as a set, and that was me just solving a problem for myself. Like our Just Smoke, which is our more classic flavor, was solving that problem of like, there's no smoked tofu on the market. My kids want something that's relatively plain, but still has some flavor and some depth with smokiness, and that is how that started. And then for me, it's like, well, I also really love Mediterranean food, and so played around with those flavors and came out with our Greek, which is really like
That
this
one I love.
plant-based. Oh, good. It's like this substitute for your feta if you want something different, if you're trying to fill a void for those that have some dairy intolerances, or if you're vegan, or
Mhm.
you just feel like having something that has high protein and fits all of those pieces. And then our maple soy, I am half Japanese, and so really lean into those flavors a lot. They just felt very intuitively complimentary, and that is actually our best seller. That's the one that I really showcased um, when we were at CHFA. And now the process is a little bit more. We're going to be launching our fourth SKU at CHFA this spring, and there was a
Ooh.
little bit more system to it this time. We have to fit certain criteria. We are non-GMO, project verified, so that's something that's really critical. If we can't source ingredients that are going to fit that,
Yep.
then that's a no-go. There's cost parameters. There needs to be like consistency with supply chain, and obviously all of it starts from just feedback from our consumers. So I did tons and tons of demos. We have a few brand ambassadors now, but really getting in front of your consumers and understanding what is it that they're looking for. I would do demos, and the common theme that would come up for some people is like, okay, which one is the spicy one? I want to have the spicy one. I'm like, actually, they're all very mild and approachable flavors, like, and
Yeah.
walk them through. But people are looking for something with a bit of a kick right now, and so that's, it'll be a little bit sweet spicy. That's going to be our new flavor that we're launching
Oh,
in the spring. Yeah.
excited. I know we do as well listen to the consumer.
Yes.
You know, we came out with our first set of products and then it was the same conversation of, well, what about this? Well, do you have this? Well, I really want it from you guys. Why can't you make this one? And so we've definitely taken all the aspects and made different products because of it. And as soon as you said price and supply chain, right now we're reformulating a product and it's the same thing. Well, we
Yeah.
can't get that non-GMO. Well, that doesn't come in this. Well, that actually has this issue. And so a lot of people don't realize when you're behind the scenes trying to make sure you have a good steady supply of a product,
Right.
and then 2 months later that company decides not to make that ingredient anymore. You're like, okay, let's find a solution. Let's
Reformulate.
do this. Yes. And it's a lot. And with depending on the type of product you're doing, it can change the flavor profile, it changes the consistency. It's a huge,
Absolutely.
it can be a
It
huge hurdle
can be a
for sure.
huge hurdle. And like that alone, the packaging sometimes has to be altered, right?
Yep.
Depending on how significant the reformulation is. And so
Yeah.
there's so many considerations. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I know it's not just hey, this is a great product, we're making it, we're moving forward. Like there are so many tiny little pieces that go into it before it even makes it to the shelf that it's what I love. It's the part that I really enjoy, but at the same
Hmm.
time it can be a big stressor when you're trying to just get that product to
For
market.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, so we got the flavors, we got the new product down. I have definitely been following how you get the word out on social media, but otherwise, like how have you been trying to get the consumer to know about you?
That's such a good question because as a really small company, like you're very bootstrapped, we don't have lots of marketing dollars to be spending all over the place. And so it really is those demos getting out there and just getting in front of our consumers, trying to be present as the founder of a brand on Instagram and just being very transparent about the journey, the ups and the downs, and the experience of trying to launch this business. We are present at trade shows, whether it's industry facing or consumer facing. So Planted Expo, we were at Make It, looking at one of a kind this spring in Ontario.
Ooh.
So yeah, that'll be, we'll see. We've just applied. But those are really the strategic ways of how do you get in front of a lot of people and really maximize your dollar, and encourage that trial of product and like use the marketing spend really wisely. Those have been our methods so far. Collaborations, we have certain partnerships like Inspired Go has really been a great one for us to get in front of new consumers with
That is a good
pairing our
idea.
product with
Yes.
salads, yeah, or cafes and restaurants. We have a little bit of food service. So those are all, different channels that we're exploring to just continue to push our brand and get out there.
Yeah. It's the biggest thing. And even last night we were talking about marketing
Hmm.
and how like that's such a broad word. Marketing. Well, it's
So
like
broad.
a million different little things. And you're right, the brand story, the why, the you, the personal brand, you really are as well the key component to this company. And how like the story behind it just it makes you want to stay. It makes you want to stay and eat the products and try new products and be part of the experience. So, it's I think with any company, it's who's my target and how do I get to them? And how do I
Yes.
get to them with the funds I have? Because if you're tight that month for spend, as small companies frequently are, the
Mhm.
one thing that gets cut is marketing because, that extra spend gets cut because you have to pay your employees, you
That's right.
have to pay for your product. And so, you really have to make sure that the
Yeah,
funds are
you
there for
have
it.
to
But
prioritize.
yeah, it's
No,
hard.
I absolutely agree. It's very hard. And the wish one day is like influencer marketing or tons and tons of paid ads and sponsored. And we do a little bit here and there, and we're very strategic about that. But I agree, like marketing, I think we probably spend more than other brands or more than the typical guidelines are, just because we're very brand forward. Like
Yeah.
we have already invested in really portraying our brand as premium, and we do charge like a premium amount. So we really want to justify that, but by being front and center
Yes.
and trying to get ourselves out there. But it's
Yeah.
hard.
It
Yeah.
is, but it is working. Like I have noticed, even in the last few months, all the other locations that you're now popping up in. I'm like, okay, now they're in this store, now they're in this store. I'm like, okay, great, so nice to see you, and like in person in the
Oh,
package on the shelf. I'm like, there she is, and it's very exciting, especially West Coast brand and West Coast stores. You're in your hometown and you see things, and you're like, that's really exciting that it's the traction's picking up. And I believe you just opened a bigger warehouse or a bigger facility,
we
right?
just moved into our very own facility. Up until now, it was like commissary first and then sharing a space with another brand. And now we're finally in our very own space that we built, lots and lots of just sweat equity going into it.
That's amazing.
But
But it's a
we're
lot.
happy.
Like having your own space is huge.
Yes,
Like
this
that's
was a
that's a huge
big, big
achievement.
milestone. Yeah, no, we're very proud of it. And it's like it's really fit to our needs. We were very thoughtful about how we wanted everything to be laid out and really systematic. And we're excited. We're taking baby steps. I think in this economy, like you can't just leap ahead 10 steps and hope that it all comes together and like the finances kind of work out. We're really taking baby steps and not taking on more than we can handle, but we're proud of it. Yeah, and excited.
It's very exciting. I know anything that you've created for yourself and for your brand is
Totally.
very exciting. It's like you kind of, when I walk into the warehouse and I see the pallets and I'm like, this is what we're here for. This is
I
what we're doing.
know.
This is, it has that good feeling. I know we have product
Feels
arriving
amazing.
today and I'm like excited to hear the doorbell, to know that it's coming and it's, fulfilling, all the stores and all the people. It's
Absolutely.
exciting.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. Like it gets stressful,
Oh yes.
sometimes when it rains, it pours, like all the orders have to come at once and then the orders slow down and but you can't like that's what we're driving for.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see happen. So, yeah, no,
Yeah.
can't complain.
And I
Yeah.
and I feel you on that one. It's like, you know, it is very stressful. I'm not going to put it's very stressful having a business and a small business, but sometimes we forget to be excited,
Yeah.
for things because you're like, oh, okay, that great thing happened, but then all these other things. But sometimes it's hard to be like, okay, stop,
Yes.
congratulate yourself, take a little moment, enjoy the small wins along the way, because
Absolutely.
because a lot of other things occur every day, but we really have to focus on, okay, this was a big win, this was really
Mhm.
exciting. I actually think you won something recently, did you not?
I mean, I relatively recently, I guess. Like, you mean
Yes,
the total
yes,
mom pitch?
yeah.
Yes. No, that was an incredible opportunity. I think like so yes, it was a pitch competition live in front of an audience of just incredible powerhouse entrepreneurs and people, not just in CPG, but like across all different industries. But I think like the biggest piece that was really empowering about it is it was celebrating mothers who are entrepreneurs, which is just like such a tightrope to be walking constantly, and really acknowledging like the juggling act that we're constantly trying to maintain. And so yeah, it was the total mom pitch. It was a competition just for people who are raising their children and also trying to get into this endeavor of entrepreneurship. And it was an amazing experience. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's also like when you think about parenting and entrepreneurship, it's actually just it's the constant, it's more like the mental load of the parenting when you're trying to like make sure your brain can hold all the activities and
Hmm.
all the tasks of the home and
Hmm.
then the work, and then you go home and you're like, okay, don't forget about that, but I got this happening. And it's almost like you need like this, someone needs to create a calendar that like meshes all these things very well for us.
Totally. It's so hard to hold everything in your head. And I think like we do tend to do that as much
Yes.
as you have planners and calendars and like home calendar and work calendar. Um, it's just like there's so many things constantly juggling. And I for me personally, like something that I need to just continue to work on is how to like turn off and be as present as possible when I'm at home. That's
Yes.
hard.
It is
Yeah.
hard. It's hard. And you know what? I was talking to someone else about this, and they were like, some days you just have to pick which one it's going to be. And some
Right.
days it is going to be work at home because that's what needs to happen. But they were like, just like as you said, be intentional. But if that day is a work day, let everyone know, hey, I have to do this at home.
Yes,
I can't, I'm not present. I'm sorry.
for
And
sure.
if you're upfront about it and you're not trying to pretend like you're not working, I think that's more when the kids are like, okay, you said you were
Come
going to
on.
be here and you're not, versus like,
You're scrolling your emails.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're doing, so stop it. So
Thank
I
you
do
for
think that
us.
just being honest when you're at home, being like, no, I have to finish this. I'm sorry, I can't listen right now. But one day this week I will listen to you
Yeah.
and I'll be aware of exactly what I'm doing because we're not perfect. We can't, as you said, it's hard to turn it off, and it's just,
I agree.
yeah,
I think we're not perfect, and I think it's really important to communicate that, and like model that. That's something I'm also really working on. And then the other piece is I remind myself it's the quality of time and
yes,
not the quantity of time.
yes,
I think that's really important, and to just like really be present and really like carve out that dedicated time that's going to be
yeah,
just for them. And that's something that like both of us are trying to be very intentional about right now because we just came out of a really busy time, like building this place out. It
oh
really
yeah,
was pick up the kids after school, bring them here. They've got their iPads or their activity, and we're working. But now it's like, okay, we got that behind us. It's time to turn our attention back and like really be dedicated, and yeah, be more present. So you're right. Sometimes you just have to pick one and understand that that's the way it has to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
But and then I grew up with an entrepreneur parent. And I
Yeah.
do think like I look back and I'm like, I was very aware of what was going on. And it wasn't like I was like, oh, you're not paying attention. I was like, this is also how our family
Yes.
makes money. This is how I get to do the activities that I get to do. And so you do have to kind of think, okay, well, this is, other parents do different types of hours, some work nights. Like it is something that I think our families just kind of I think they easily mold around once they realize this is just the way that our family works.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. With this type of business also comes some flexibility. Like I
yeah,
can volunteer for the field trips and whatever other activities there are. So
yeah,
yeah, there's pros and cons for
it's
sure.
true. So, do you have any big plans over the next 5 years? Or do you have a goal for the next 5 years that you are taking your steps towards that you'd like to share?
I think for us, really, like the big vision is for Ume to become a household name. Like I would love for us to be, our niche is smoked tofu, but for people really to understand, like, oh, Ume, yeah, that's the smoked tofu that I have in my fridge. And so for us to be a household name, available in any retailer, any grocer that you're shopping at across Canada at the very least. um there are some interesting developments with the US, and so we really
Mm,
did have our eyes set on export, but we are holding off right now just because things are changing so quickly. But I would let like 5 years time, yes, I would love for us to have some strong presence in the US as well. And then we'll see what happens beyond that. Yeah.
that'd be a great market as well. And of course, like even if it was just California,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like their population's the same as Canada. So the
Crazy.
opportunities there and the size of the market is there. And even just having a small piece of it,
I agree.
is
Yes, and we've
success.
had requests for that, so we definitely are going to be exploring that. We were going to be like very much intentionally exploring that this year, but I think we just have to like wait and see how everything unfolds politically, and then we'll tackle
You
that.
never know. You never know what's gonna happen down there.
Never know.
I have high hopes for all the Canadians. I think we're all going to be fine. I'm sure there's some CPG groups out there that are all like just waiting.
Bated breath. Yeah.
We're moving full steam ahead. We have positive
Good.
hopes. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you've got to, right? Like, yeah,
You know,
just got to
it's
keep growing.
and if it's a fee or a fine or whatever it is, it's still a part of business and it's not, you know,
Absolutely.
It's
A
just
part
another
of business is
aspect.
navigating it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
So I do have two more questions before we end.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of them is, have you been part of any accelerators or groups or I guess that's what they're communities
Hmm.
that you felt were very beneficial?
Yes. I put my hand up for all of the opportunities. I think that that is just really important to put yourself forward. It also is an opportunity to like not feel so alone, to develop a community, be networking, meeting people. So, Y Space has incredible, I can't remember the specific name, but Y Space has incredible opportunities for entrepreneurs and just like accelerators that really touch on marketing and business plans and all different aspects of the business. If you're part of like the BC Food and Beverage Association, they
True,
always
yeah.
have lots of webinars and different courses you can take. I did Investor Ready, which really focuses on women and coaches you. They have like an online platform where it kind of like you practice your pitch and then it throws out different questions for you to answer, and it actually
Ooh,
analyzes your language
that's very
so that
cool.
you're using more positive language, um, more convincing language, and move away from the more negative vocabulary. So that was an amazing course. Um, yeah, and then I just was accepted into Spring's women-led impact investor cohort.
That's
So
very
excited for that as
exciting.
well. Yes, yeah, yeah. I'm all about participating in accelerator
Yeah.
groups.
I always find that if nothing else, it brings you into a room with people with the same goals or
Yes,
like-minded individuals and ones that are also on the same path as you at different stages, but the same path. Like everyone has the same kind of goal. So I think no matter what, I agree with you. You say yes, you jump in on them,
yeah,
especially if they're not costing a lot of
for
money.
sure.
Because they are important for us. And then again, you were on Launchpad at CHFA East.
Yes.
So how was that?
Again, like another opportunity that I can say is in the books. Every opportunity is really nerve-wracking, but I think you still do
You
it.
do.
Um, yeah, like really just going in front because that was a very CPG focused audience where they know their stuff, some, incredible like people that have exited their businesses,
Yes.
like the full gamut. And so I found it really nerve-wracking, but I also think it's just a really good chance to, again, brand exposure,
Yep.
get your product out there, introduce it to new people. Who knows if there's a buyer there or an investor, or a consumer. I had somebody, I think on LinkedIn, reach out and she was like, after I heard your pitch, like I buy it every week now because it's delicious. And so like
True.
that's huge.
I
Yeah.
do agree. Everyone is a consumer.
Yes.
They're also buyers for stores and they're, everything else as well, but everybody's a consumer. I remember when I started doing demos way back in the day for my mom's company.
Hmm.
And the thing she said to me was every single person that walks by is a consumer. Like,
Yeah.
like that person, even though they work for a different company, she's like at a trade show. She's like, clearly, she's like, they're a consumer. You educate them the same
Totally.
as everybody else. They get the same. She's like, you never know also who they know.
Yes.
And I think I've held that over from when I was a teenager to be like, yes, no matter who's in front of me, like that is the person that's important.
Absolutely. Regardless,
Yeah.
like regardless of if it's a kid, who knows who their
Yes.
parents are or who they will become one day. I fully agree. And even with competitors, like I buy Big Mountain products. I buy all kinds of Sunrise,
Yes.
it really doesn't matter. I agree. Everybody is a consumer and you just never know who you're interacting with.
It's true.
So it's always an opportunity. Yeah.
I know. And especially with Launchpad, like it's the industry. That the industry was in the room for you. So,
Yes.
that alone is, and it was a full room. I think it had
Gosh,
everyone standing room only in there. I know
I
you
couldn't
said you
look
were
up.
nervous and I was like, I was nervous and I was just a judge.
I know it was a lot. It filled up so fast
It did.
too.
And I was like, everyone's standing at the back, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a full room. It's full room. So if anybody out
Yes.
there's listening, and I think the launch pad for CHV West has now opened,
Mm-hmm.
apply. See what
Yeah.
happens. You never
Yeah,
know.
you have nothing to
Yeah,
lose. Yeah.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. And then my last question
Yeah.
for you is
Yes.
what is the one piece of advice that you wish you knew before you started your business?
The one piece of advice I wish I knew. I think like for me, if I was to spit it into like what kind of advice would I give myself if I didn't, now that I'm here where I am, I think it's just to go for it, like to take that leap of faith. I did take the leap of faith and I did go for it, but with so much trepidation and like so much fear attached to it. And I think if you know, if you have your why and you have that conviction, you just go into the
Yes.
unknown and you explore it and you don't know what's on the other side, and I think like that's part of growth. And it's like amazing to see when you look back like how far you have come, and if you don't take that risk then you just never know. So I would say just to go for it. Yeah.
I love it. And it's true because I think if someone else asked me as well a few days ago, like, how did you do it? And I was like, well, I knew I wanted to do it and
Yes,
I knew I wanted to make this company. And you do just you have to take that step. You have to try. And I remember thinking, like, well, if it fails, it fails. Yes, that's like, to me, it'd be horrible.
of
But
course.
it's not, it's in the grand scheme of everything, it's not the worst thing that would happen. Like there, you are still
Hmm.
you whether or not the company does not succeed or not. So I do agree with you. You have to try. You have to go forward. You have to take that
You have
jump.
to go for it. You have to take
Yeah.
that jump. You have to take that risk. And I think I'm with you, Caitlin. Like, failure is incredibly terrifying, but also, like, if you just always turn away from all of these risks, you're
Yeah.
never going to get that like amazing sense of growth and see how far you can come from something.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And you
you
don't
got to try.
realize what you can do until you do it,
Yes.
or how far you can make it until you actually try. When you take that step, you're like, wow, I actually can do that.
Yeah.
I've always thought about it, but I never realized I could stand in front of 500 people. I didn't realize I could say XYZ in front of like doing these things. And I think that that's just being personal growth alone in these
Yes.
instances is pretty impressive. And that's a little celebrations for us on our own, being like, I did that. That was me.
Yeah.
That was my company. I'm very excited. Whether or not anybody else sees it, doesn't matter. Those things are important.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, like when you talk to other founders who you think are so much farther ahead and you really get into like a little bit of the personal side, none of us know what we're doing. Like we're just trying to figure it out, which is really reassuring. It's like, oh, okay, you still are figuring it out. Okay.
Well,
But
things
like,
change like
yeah, we're
every
just
week.
navigating.
Everything's changing, rules change, regulations change, the social media changes frequently,
Yes.
SEO changes. So I do think that all of it is just trial and error. Keep moving forward. Talk to the right people. Talk to the right audience. Those
Yeah.
kind of things never change. But you're right. Everything's like you don't know till you do it.
Yeah. And we're all just trying to figure it out.
It's
So,
true.
yes.
So for everybody that is watching and watching our replay, how do we follow you and get in touch with your company?
For sure. So we're very present on Instagram at This Is Ume. Our website is also thisisume.com. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I'm also very active there. It's my name, Miki Talebi, and so you can find me there. Um, yeah, those would be the main places. And I'm happy to connect. I'm happy to help in any way I can. I
And then
love
if
just
we're
growing the network.
if we're looking for you in store, what are the chains that we can find you?
Absolutely. So most recently, Save on Foods is where we launched in. So we're really excited about that. You can find us in all the Save on Foods, Whole Foods, Nature's Fair, Spud, Choices, Nesters. Um, most of the chains you should be able to spot us at Safeway Thrifties.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And then is
Hmm.
it Metro as well?
Yes, in
Yes.
Ontario
Okay.
Metro, also Whole Foods, Big Carrot, the sweet potato.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
very exciting.
Yeah, we're
Well, thank you
excited.
so much, Miki. I really appreciate you being my first founder chat of 2025. And I'm looking forward to following your journey and trying your new products at the
Thank
upcoming show.
you. I'm
Very excited.
honored to be your first 2025 guest. Thanks for inviting me, Caitlin.
Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.